Hey you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Beast! I'm YouTube famous now. Available in 1990, the year I graduated from high school. Dad, AF, rock on, gold dust woman. How are you guys doing today? Okay, let's get into this video. I just went to Starbucks, got my morning coffee, and I also reviewed the bubblegum Frappuccino, so go check it out on my review channel. And I did a giveaway yesterday on this channel, but it's about Starbucks, so go check out my video from yesterday. I'm going to, before I start this video, I'm going to go in with the Chubby Chap number 2 cucumber melon. It actually does have a number on it. I know that's the 0.5 ounces. Anyway, let's get into this video today. Now, I was going to make a twofer today, but I think I'm just going to include this. I don't want that. I have all these fans, but the one I want. Okay, you're the one that I want. I was going to make a twofer Thursday today, but I think I'm going to put this all in one video, and this will just be a long video. The first thing, we're going to talk about Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson and Cam Lester. Cam Lester, the makeup artist, came out yesterday and made a 27-minute Instagram video talking about how he has officially distanced himself publicly from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and Shane Dawson. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. I have notes for all of that. The other thing I want to talk, and I'm just going to put this stuff out there and let you guys tell me what you think in the comment section, okay? The other thing I want to talk about is that the makeup artist Taj Reed came out and made some statements about Norvina from Anastasia of Beverly Hills, and also just ABH Cosmetics in general, and her interactions with that. Now, I will tell you that this gets very, very lengthy at the in this whole situation with what she's put out there. And I wouldn't say that it's necessarily confusing when you read it. It's like when you read all of it, it's like, oh, okay, like I get it now, right? But it's very, very long, and for me to sit here and read all of her statements would not be fair for her, and it would be taking that away from her. So I'm going to send you over to her Instagram, which is, I will link it below, but it's Taj Reed, and she has 105,000 followers, and let's see, she put out, this is on, hold on a second, okay, this is 3 days ago. She put out this statement, and it's like 6 pages long that she has typewritten, and it starts off saying standards. I've been alluding to this and hinting at this for months. I've already spoken about it before, but as nothing in my situation has changed, it's time to talk about it again, this time, permanently. And she says, late last year I was struggling financially and had asked Jackie Ina if she knew any brands looking to collab. She put in a good word with Norvina of Anastasia of Beverly Hills. We all know this. She mentioned it when she announced weeks later that I was to be the brand's first ever content creator. She sent me a DM beforehand and asked me what I was looking for in terms of work. I explained what type of work I'd done for some other brands up to that point and stressed that I was looking for full-time work. She said she could figure something out because she wanted to have me do work for the brand. I had just done, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, okay? I had just gone viral thrice in a week for my TikToks. So all my social medias were blowing up, great exposure for everyone, cool. She asked me what I charged, and I said $970 per post. She said that was great and told me someone would be in touch. Now, I just want to say something to you, okay? Before we get into the rest of this. $970 for a post on Instagram for somebody that has 105,000 followers is like nothing, okay? Just in all honesty, to put all cards on the table, right? Like, I just saw a booktuber the other day talk about how they made $400 off of doing a sponsored post, and they had 9,000 subscribers. So for a brand like ABH to be offering her, okay, for her to say that her rate is $970, she is really like setting a low standard. Like, she could have probably, in all honesty, asked for $2,000 to $3,000, $5,000 for a post. Okay, there's a lot of people that get paid that per post. So $970, just to put this in reference, is not a lot of money, okay? And I don't know that at the time Taj knew that, or if she was basing that on her analytics or what, but I can tell you that Norvina from ABH would absolutely know that. She would know the going rates of the industry and what people pay and things like that. So to me, that's really low. And I mean, like, already I'm like reading this and I'm like feeling bad, right? So she goes in, and basically what she says is that they put her off, and then they want her to sign this contract. And the contract basically comes down to, like, she can't post anything unless she signs this contract, allegedly. I'm just kind of putting this in my own words, right? and that she, at first they say they want her to do 2 posts. Now, I've experienced this before with like brands, and I'm like, when this starts coming my way, I'm like, you know what, listen, I just think it would be better if we didn't work together, you know? Where at first they'll say, okay, like, you know, like, what's your rate? My rate is this. And then they'll say, okay, well, what if you say your rate is $1,000, they'll say, okay, then instead of 1 post, we want 2 for the next week. Well, when you break it down, that's not $1,000 a post, it's $500 a post, and that's exactly what she says in here, and that's what they did to her, okay? So then it goes on and on and on, and finally the contract they want her to sign is, I think it's something like 1 post a week for a month at $1,000 rate, which comes down to $250. I mean, they have literally whittled this down to nothing at this point, okay? So that is to think that ABH, okay, is only willing to pay a content creator, okay, $250 a post on Instagram when they know that they're gonna get tens of thousands of views off of this. I went and looked at her views. She gets a lot of views on her video or her post, you know? And I'm just like, I don't know, it's such a sad message that it sends of what their respect level is for you, you know? And it's bad business. It just is, that's in my opinion, right? So anyway, she goes in here and she talks about all this kind of stuff. Well, when she posted this, there were several people that came out in support of her. Jackie Ina came out in support of her. Desi Perkins came out in support of her and was like, thank you for telling your truth. She said something to that effect. Hold on just a second. Let me pull it up. Desi Perkins said, I'm happy you decided to speak up about this, something I myself was not brave enough to do in the past. I stopped supporting them years ago. So Desi Perkins has now come out and she has said that she experienced the same thing with ABH. Interesting. So and as this unfolds, and listen, I don't understand it enough to be continuing to talk about it because there is so much going on. More and more and more people are coming out to talk about this. And in fact, she has another post up. This is from, I think, yesterday or the day before. Hold on a second. Let me get back into my Instagram. My receipts. All right. This is from 5 hours ago. She is posting about how Norvina reached out to her personally and tried to, explain things the way she said. I really hate that my page is a cesspool of negativity, but I promise transparency. However, this is really the last interaction I plan to have with Norvina for the foreseeable future. I will never do this again. The exchange is rife with bad blood, and I cannot in good conscience put myself in that position. I'd love to say, yay, she apologized and we can move forward. Now I'll be financially stable, winner, winner, chicken dinner, except I tried that. And then I was put on hold. Now I feel I'm being rushed and gaslit. I don't want platitudes. I want real change. I want real accountability. I want the space to say, this isn't right. And I want to be heard. I do not need the reminder that I signed a bogus contract designed to get as much out of me for as little money as possible. I am sad, I am disappointed, and I am above all else disgusted. I don't want my foundation of relationships with brands to be built on guilt or because you are pressured by the bottom dollar. Just treat creators right from the beginning. Be proactive, not reactive. And what she's referring to is, in her post on here, Norvina comes out and they are messaging each other back and forth, and Norvina says to her, wait, where is it at? On such and such date, you stated you would be paid $1,000 for a project. We paid that amount. On March 10th, you said that you thought an additional $1,000 would be paid. In good faith, I immediately paid the additional $1,000 because she says in there, Taj says that she PayPal'd her personally $1,000. I wanted you to be happy because I value your talent. The communication on our side with you was not handled properly after we spoke on March 10th. I apologize for that. I realized in March that I cannot manage influencer relations, and this isn't her fault though. See, Norvina, this isn't Taj's fault, right? And I realized in March that I cannot manage influencer relations, and my strategy was to step away and focus on business. I communicate my expectations to the team, but not to her, not to the creators. It goes on the future of work. They failed to do so during COVID-19, and I apologize for that. So she apologizes for the fact that her team did not respond to her. No accountability. If you would like to discuss working with ABH, please let me know. I will make sure that our studio producers will personally handle all communication promptly. And she responds and says, Norvina, for transparency, the only reason that I signed that contract was because I was under the impression that I would not be paid until I did. But the rate was not right, and we did in fact discuss that. And so it goes on, and you can read underneath her. She has a long post, and I will link her Instagram below. But it makes you wonder, how many content creators, how many beauty influencers, people that are just trying to build their platforms and, have relationships with brands. And it's like, you don't want to upset these big brands because then you're afraid you're going to, never be able to work in the community again or whatever. We're hearing a lot of that. Cam Lester talks about that. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And it's really sad, isn't it? That you feel like, she talks in there, if you read her entire post, she talks about, feeling like she couldn't say what she needed to say. She was afraid to come out and say anything, and that it goes into explicit detail about the contract in general, which is, but it's really sad. And, like on the smaller creators end, and she goes in and she talks a lot about being a black creator and she feels that this has something to do with what's going on, But on the smaller creators end, they don't really understand contracts. The majority of them do not have dial-up attorneys they talk to every 5 minutes, to pay for, right? So they're just trusting the process. They're trusting that, hey, this person wants to work with me. I'm really, really excited about this. This is like a great moment. Like, this is a big thing for me, right? And then to just be so screwed. And not to mention that this isn't just something that happens overnight. Like Tosh says in there, it starts and it goes on for like 6 or 7 months. She says 5 months at one point. Like, you wanted me to respond in 5 hours. I waited 5 months. You can continue to wait. So anyway, I don't know. Go read her thread and let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think the whole thing is very, very sad. But more and more people are coming out and talking about their interactions with Norvina from ABH. So, I guess we'll have to see what happens going forward. All right, now I want to talk about Cam Lester and what he said about Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson, and I have some notes about this because it was a 27-minute video. I will tell you the video is getting kind of mixed responses, which doesn't surprise me, knowing the topic that he's talking about. So Cam Lester, if you do not know who he is a self-identified black beauty boy, and he's a makeup artist, and he has done a campaign with Jeffree Star, and James Charles really helped him a lot when he first got started. He talks a lot about this in the video. And so now I think he has something like, he has like similar amount of subscribers, like 100 and so many. Hold on a second. No, I think he actually has a lot less than that. I had it pulled up. Hold on a second. He has 57,000 subscribers. Okay. Or followers on, 57,000 followers on Instagram, right? So anyway, he goes in and he does this 27-minute video. He's leaving it up, okay? And in there he goes and he starts talking about how he has to publicly distance himself at this point from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and Shane Dawson. And I was like, okay, this will be interesting. What is this all about, right? So he goes in here, and I just took like kind of quick notes, right? He goes in and he talks about being in Houston and last year, and that he was in the Louis Vuitton store and they were all shopping, and that Jeffree Star asked him if he liked James Charles. And he said, like, that he was real conflicted in how to answer. Now, I will tell you this part of the video, like, I didn't really understand, like, what he came out and said. Like, did he say, yes, I like James, or whatever? He said something to the effect of, like, James really helped me at the beginning. Like, when I, first started working, yes, James has always been nice to me, something to that effect. And so Jeffree said to him something to the effect of, but you don't owe him forever. Like, something like that, right? So that was like the first incident that he said something about that, and he was kind of like taken off guard that Jeffree Star asked him about James Charles. And then he came out and he said that then the next day they were in a hotel room, and that they were sitting around, and that Shane Dawson I think it was that he FaceTimed Jeffree Star, and that he was going off on James and like just really, really going off. And I don't know what he said in that conversation. The thing is, okay, this is Cam telling his truth. Part of the problem for me watching it as a drama channel, just being completely transparent, first of all, he comes across as terrified, okay, to make this video. And he even says at the end of the video, and we're going to talk about this, about how scared he was. So maybe that was kind of like part of the problem, but there's a lot of specifics that are kind of missing. So you hear the story, and it kind of feels like when you're watching it, and if everything he says in the video is true, if everything in the video he says is true, I feel for him, okay? I really do, and I think it would be really hard to make that video. That being said, before you're gonna sit down and make a video like that, you're gonna have to have some kind of like, like specific things. Like, you can't just come out and say, Shane Dawson came out and said that he just went off in a FaceTime call, right? Like, when he said that, I was like, well, what did Shane say? Like, what were the specifics that he was saying? If you're gonna come out and say, I'm distancing myself from these people anyway, and I'm afraid of what's gonna happen and come afterwards, then you should come out and just say what he said. Like, that's, like, let people really know. Because now what he's got is he's got people that are kind of like sitting on the fence, because they're like, well, you said this, but we don't really, and I read the comments, and a lot of comments are saying the same thing. They're like, we don't really know what it is you're talking about, like you're alleging, like, you know. And he says in there, one of the things that he says, this is so true, and you guys, you know, like, it's just so true. He says in here where, something about, there's so much behind this, there's so much behind the scenes that nobody even knows about. And that just is like the understatement of the last 4 years of me doing, you know, drama within, you know, the beauty influencer community. There's so many things behind the scenes of these people that you love and adore that you have absolutely no idea exist, you know? And, so anyway, and like I said in my video the other day, like, I'm always waiting for people to prove me wrong, to prove me, you know, that they are maybe a better version of themselves than I thought that they were, you know? So I always give people the benefit of the doubt and wait. So he talks about that, and he said in this instant where Shane and Jeffree were like talking that he, quote unquote, knew something was brewing in regards to James Charles, because Shane is, he says he's going off about James Charles, and he knew something was brewing, and that this was 3 months before the whole situation happened with Tati's by sister video and all that. He says 3 months later, James had a scandal, and he had a scandal, and he didn't help him, and he didn't warn him. And that he felt really, really bad about that, because he could have come out and he could have said something. He could have gone to James right after that conversation and said, I'm not saying this, he said this in the video, you know, and warned him, and then maybe James wouldn't have gone through the scandal, you know, or whatever happened, and then he lost all his subscribers. He said he felt bad because James had been really good to him, but he was so focused on wanting to protect his platform. Now, he says this several times in his video. He says that the reason why he's never come out and talked about it before was, well, he kind of keeps on saying that people around him are telling him, you know, just basically use Jeffree, just, you know, let him get you to wherever you want. You know, he said he's taken so much crap for, you know, sticking up for Jeffree through the years, and he just did it, but he really never got anything in return. He says at one point that he never really grew. Like it is interesting to me, okay, that, you know, he's protected Jeffree so much and come out and supported Jeffree and was in his campaigns, and he's at 57,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, that's not large for a makeup artist on Instagram, you know? So that is interesting to me. But, you know, like, he was saying that people around him were saying, just don't say anything, whatever, and that he was doing it to protect his platform because he wanted to build his platform, and he didn't know what he wanted to do. He also comes out at the beginning, and I do think that this is really, like, kind of a poignant part of the video. He talks about when he first came out and talked about his HIV status, and that James really encouraged and supported him through that whole time and doing that. And that ever since then, he's always wanted to come on and, you know, be transparent and be honest. And, you know, I think, like, just because somebody isn't transparent and honest when you want them to be, doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the ability to be transparent and honest. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, like, it's my, you know, I don't know, I probably have demanded that from people in the past, you know, but, like, I know I have. But, you know, like, I think as I get older, one of the things I learn is, just because I think somebody should be transparent and honest, maybe they're not at a place to do that yet. Maybe they have to go through some things and learn some things, you know? So anyway, he goes on and he says that he told Jeffree, he goes into talking about being at Mitchell's event, and he says Mitchell doesn't have any part of this, so he doesn't want to bring him into it. But he says that he told Jeffree at Mitchell's event that he should apologize to Jackie Ina, and that Jeffree said that she doesn't deserve a spot on his platform. That was his response. Okay, he then said that he felt he was being used as a black boy, as a black beauty boy, but not getting the same in return. But just being put in the campaign, was trying to send a message. Okay, I was writing this late last night, so my writing's bad. And then once he didn't need him anymore, he was done with him. So once Jeffree didn't need Cam anymore, he was done with him, if that makes sense, okay? So that's what he says in, you know, the video. And that he felt like he was just being used for the campaign. Over the course of this video, he kind of, like, you can see that he gets more and more comfortable kind of saying, I felt like I was being used. And he even says, to some degree, he even says the word token in the video. He says that the team reached out recently to see if they knew any black creators that would support Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I think this is really, to me, one of the most interesting parts of the video, if it's true. And that he felt like it was a game to silence him. Like, if he continued to work with them, he said, he felt like if they were helping build his brand, then he would never come out and say like what he heard Shane Dawson say and what Jeffree said about James Charles, and that they knew about all of this. Because basically what he's alleging is 3 months in advance before this Tati video ever came out, that Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star were talking negatively about James Charles and all of this kind of stuff. Well, no, there was no clue out in the universe, right, that any of this had anything was brewing. So that's basically what he's saying, is that, you know, this was happening long in advance. He said that he felt like he was getting, this is an exact term, he was getting breadcrumbs, and that he was getting silent. So they were giving him little, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here to keep him silent, to kind of help him grow and whatever, but it was just keeping him silent. He said that he didn't say anything because he thought he was going to gain. And so the continued reason of why he didn't come out and he didn't say anything was because he thought that it was going to help his platform. He then apologizes to James, to his audience, to black creators, and to the black community for not standing up sooner and saying something. And that he, oh, I'm never going to get this word. Okay, then he starts talking about, and I'm not going to get into anything deep about this, but he alleges fearing for his life. He alleges fearing for his career, and that he feels like he's never going to be able to work with any other brands again. He goes into talking all about that. And then the last thing that he says in here, basically, well, it's like 5 minutes before the end, is that there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes that no one knows about, you know? And the thing is, for me, is it's like always second and third hand information, right, that I hear, like that maybe is like down the road, like 6 months later, like somebody will say, like, you know, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to make up something. Oh, Lord, dropped my coffee. But, you know, like, somebody will say something to me, or I'll hear through the grapevine, or somebody will send me a receipt, and they'll be like, hey, have you seen this? Blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, you know, like, if I hear it from 1 or 2 people, I'm like, well, I don't know. It needs to be more than that. And then 6 months down the road, it'll come out, and I'll be like, oh, well, that really was true, you know? So there's a lot of that goes on behind the scenes, but it's just firsthand, you know, situations. Like, I feel as if people are going to start coming out and telling their truths and what goes on behind the beauty industry. It's like, give us specifics. Like, Taj, very, very specific. And I know that Cam is terrified, and he did say in his video, he said that I may need to come out and explain things further to be more specific. So that'll be interesting. I did look. Shane Dawson has not said anything in here. And watching the video, you got the impression, or I got the impression, that Cam had more of an issue with Shane Dawson than he really wanted to say. Like, he didn't really come out and say a lot, except for that one incident. But it was like Shane was a big part of this, too. And then, Jeffree Star hasn't come out and said anything about it either. So he's taken pictures and posted them on his Instagram today, and posted a picture of him, like, his butt. He's sitting naked in most bothered person, you know, doesn't care, I guess. So they haven't come out and said anything. Now, I did want to go in here, and I wanted to read some of the comments underneath here, because I thought it was interesting. The first comment underneath here that's getting a lot of traction said, and these are like, I'm going to read the first 2 because they're just completely opposing comments, and this is kind of how all the comments go underneath here. Someone said, I understand you are upset, but I do think maybe you are reading too much into this. To say you feel Jeffree would put out okay, this is where he's talking about fearing for his life. We don't always have to like each other. We can grow and change, and that's great. Friends break up and new friendships develop. It's how life is. Obviously, only you were there at these times, and I don't personally know any of this, but James wasn't innocent in his actions either. There has been proof of that. People get angry and make statements in anger, which may have been in case with Shane. And then it has 69 responses, and it goes back and forth, and it's not pretty. And then the next person underneath here says, I definitely feel like this is a pattern with Jeffree. You have the right to live your life authentically and true to yourself. It takes courage to stand up to the powerful people who know they've done wrong, but will never admit it. I found your channel before Jeffree, and your HIV journey story was so inspiring. You are inspiring. So when you go through here, there's a lot of back and forth of people. I will say that I was, like, other than people attacking each other in that one thread, I thought people were very, you know, if they were supportive of Jeffree, they were supportive in a very kind of like intellectual manner. If they were supportive of Cam, they were supportive in a very intellectual, compassionate way for both of them. It wasn't that they came out and, you know, like beat each other up. It's like, hey, I appreciate you telling my story. I don't necessarily agree with you, or maybe you didn't see it this way, or hey, thank you for sharing your story. This is what I thought all along. It was very nice back and forth. So anyway, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if Jeffree or Shane comes out and says anything. I have a feeling they absolutely will not address this. I know Shane will not address it. And if Shane comes out and addresses it, it will be personally to Cam, and Cam will receive a message or something like, hey, I'm really sorry about that, like, you know, we need to talk about it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. I don't know, I was kind of surprised when I went on here today and the video has only 10,000 views and 312 comments, you know? So, you know, maybe nobody cares. Maybe nobody cares about any of this. You know, I was reading some threads on Twitter and a lot of people were saying, like, this was a really wishy-washy video. You know, I think, like, at the end of the video, he says, he's afraid. He says, I'm fearful for my life, my career, all this kind of stuff, you know? And if that really is the case, then maybe he didn't feel comfortable coming out and saying specifics, or maybe he doesn't have specifics. Hell, I don't know, you know? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.